All right. Well, welcome, everyone. This is Jill Hope, and I am so excited to be here with you all today to share with you the 10 things that I did that changed the trajectory of my business and allowed me to live the kind of life I want to live. The money freedom, time freedom, and the ability to do what I want to do for my family and for my life. We're going to kick right off with this, but I first want you to just think for a minute to yourself, why are you in your business? Why is your business so important to you? Why is it important to you that you make money in your business and that you make money consistently? What is your why? Why is that so important to you? It's really, before I even go through these 10 things, that you reconnect with that why inside, that reason why you want the money. What is it the money for? The reason why you want the business to be successful? What is driving you forward? What keeps you from giving up? That's what I want you to tune in with now. So just take a moment. You might want to close your eyes for a brief moment, breathe deeply, and reconnect to why you want your business to be successful, why you want the money to support your business. What is the money for? What will you do with that money? How will it change your life? Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So I had a why. I had a big why as to what was keeping me moving forward, even when it was such a struggle for so many years in my business. And it was that why that kept me searching for the answers. And it took a really long time, and it cost me a lot of money. I spent over $100,000 in coaching programs trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And finally, after all the years, I sort of, I guess I would say I kind of stumbled into it, although I don't really like how that sounds, but it was revealed to me how I actually shifted. And it was only revealed to me after I had already started making the shifts. Now I can look back in retrospect and see, oh, these are the things that I put into play. These are the ways that I changed. These are the things that I did that made the biggest difference in what is showing up for me. And these are the same 10 things that I continue to do on a daily basis that keep things working and keep things moving forward and keep my business growing. So I want to get into these 10 things now. But keep in mind, as you listen to what I'm sharing here, that you stay connected to that why, because that is the thing that is going to allow you to actually adopt new behaviors and make new decisions and be able to start to put into play some of these things that I'm sharing with you today. It's that deeper why that will keep you going when things get tough. So let's kick this right off here. And I want to share number one. The first thing that I did was, and this is so essential, and so many people I work with, they really want to push back on this one, but I accepted where I was at. Okay, so I used to believe that in order, like if I accepted where I was at, that it meant that I was giving up on my dream, right? And I've even had clients tell me that, like, well, Jill, what are you saying? Like, if I accept that, my situation as it is now, then, I'm totally letting go of what I want. No, you're not. You absolutely must accept where you're at today if you want to get where you want to go. I have a mentor that used to share this analogy of, imagine yourself being plopped down in the middle of a desert. You get a map, right? Someone hands you a map and you're all excited, like, oh, good, here's the map to get out of here. But you look at the map and you don't know where you are in relation to that map. If you don't know where you are on that map, how are you going to know which way to go to get out? And it's exactly the same way with business. You must know where you're starting from. You've got to be real with yourself and honest with yourself. And so in my situation, the issue that I was having is I was in deep, serious debt. I mean, really serious debt. And I knew that I was in debt. I was paying my monthly bills. I was like, just having enough to keep them, keep me from going, where they're going to come after me. Right. And, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't paying down any of the debt. And And I was just like at this point where I was living day to day, completely full of debt. And I still wanted to step into another coaching program. And I'll never forget having this conversation with one of the coaches. And I'm like, I need to figure this out. I've got to move forward. She's like, well, here's what it costs. And I'm like, well, okay, I don't know how to do that because I'm fully tapped out on every single credit card. Like I have no room to pay. And she's like, okay, she's like, you clearly can't do this. You clearly shouldn't do this coaching program. You need to figure out the debt. And that was like a huge wake up call, because I hadn't had anyone say to me, especially someone who was, probably, wanted to grow their business, right? And wanted to take on new clients. And she was real with me. And she's like, no, you have to get this debt thing resolved. You've got to do something drastic to get on the other side of that. And that spurred me into motion. I finally accepted that, okay, this is my situation. I can't continue to try to grow, and I certainly won't be able to grow if I don't do something with this debt. And in a very short period of time, I completely paid it off. And I'm really happy to say that. But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't shift my mind and accept where I was at. So that's the first thing, is looking at your situation realistically and acknowledging to yourself, as painful as it is, where you're actually at in your business. Because until you can do that, you won't know what the right next steps are to move you forward. So that's the first one, accept where you're at. Now, the second thing that I did to really get the business and the money flowing for myself is I got out of the trap of magical thinking. So I don't know if this came from like being raised in the Disney era, but there is something, and I used to be kind of afraid to mention this, and I started mentioning it and realized a lot of people actually feel this way. And be honest with yourself when I say this to you. Is there a part of you that is sort of like waiting to be discovered? Like you've got great stuff and you're really good at what you do, but people just don't know about you. And so you're kind of just waiting for that one special person to see you that has a little bit of influence, and then they're going to blow you up all over the place and get you out there big, and like that person's going to be your hero, right? And they're going to be the white horse that takes you off into the sunset as you're counting, all of the success and all the money that you've created in your successful business. Well, it sounds so kind of hokey, and yet I realized that there was a part of me that was waiting to be discovered. And that was not going to get me where I wanted to go. If you have a big goal, if you have a big dream, and I know you do, you've got to be the cause of that happening. There is nobody out there that cares about getting you out there more than you do. Until you can actually admit to yourself that, yeah, there is a little part of me that is sort of waiting for someone to finally see me and say, okay, it's your turn. But it doesn't work that way. You have to decide it's your turn. You have to be the cause, and you've got to go out there and create the ripples that will, turn into you making the money that you want. It has to be started from you. You've got to make that happen. Wishing, hoping, deeply desiring, those things are all great, but they're not a cause. They're not getting things rolling. You can sit on your couch and wish all you want, and dream all you want, and visualize and make a vision board. But if you're not actually getting into action, nothing is going to happen. You must be the cause. So that's number 2, is you've got to get out of the trap of magical thinking. And believe me, that was my favorite game, was magical thinking game. I did that for way too many years, and it got me nowhere. Okay, so the third thing that I did that really got things turning around in my business was I made the decision to have it now. Not at some point when my son was off to school, or when I lose 10 pounds, or, when I have a certain amount of money available in the bank. No, right now, this minute, even before I know how, I decided to have it. Didn't always do that though. There was always a condition on when I could decide that, okay, I'm going to go for it. So I want you to really, really listen to this. Making a decision means there's no turning back. Making the decision, actually, the root of the word decision means to cut off all other options. That's a firm decision. That's a committed decision. That is a decision that actually has opportunities moving toward you. If you were just sort of like, yeah, that'd be really nice, and I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it someday, and I'm going to take some little steps now, that is not a firm decision. That is not a decision that brings the right opportunities. That is not a decision that helps you see possibilities where maybe they didn't exist before. And that is definitely not the kind of decision and the kind of mentality that is going to help you move through fear. Because that's the next thing that happens is when you make a decision, you're going to be presented with things that cause you to have a lot of fear. And if you don't have a firm, like, I'm making this happen and I'm doing it now mentality, then you're not going to have the strength or the courage to move through those scary things. And it's absolutely required in order to help you do that. You're going to have to do scary things. I had this dream for a really long time, which was to get my dream home. And I have this book, and every year I write down all the things that I want. And then at the end of the year, I go back and I check off all the things that I accomplished. And I noticed that from year to year to year, my dream home just kept getting moved unchecked to the next year, and then the next year, and then the next year. And after about 4 years of this, I was like, what is going on here? I'm checking off all these things, but how come the dream home's not happening? And when I really tuned in, I realized, oh my gosh, I never actually said, I'm going to do that this year. I never claimed that it was happening right now. And so, of course, the opportunities didn't show up. Of course, I didn't step through the fears that I would need to step through in order to create that. I hadn't decided to have it now. So you're going to want to check yourself and see, look, what are you committing to have right now, today, this year, over the next 12 months? Is it a firm commitment, or is it a nice to have or a wish or a hope? Because it's got to be a decision if you actually want to have the energy around it to be able to bring it in. So you got to make the decision to have it now. Now, the fourth thing I did, and this is very closely connected to the third one, is I gave myself permission to have what I want. I'll never forget, I was in a coaching call with a woman who was coaching with me, and it was our first call together, and she was explaining to me what the situation was. And from my perspective, not being emotionally involved, I could see the answer very clearly. And so I told her, and she's like, oh, she said, that's all I have to do? Just do that? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, she said, I thought of that, doing that, but I guess I didn't really give myself permission. I didn't think it was okay that I can just go and do that. And we do this to ourselves, ladies. We don't give ourselves permission to have what we want. And a lot of that comes from our conditioning. It's things that our parents told us. It's things that we learned as we were growing up of what is okay to want and what is not okay to want. And the way I was raised, we had nothing, absolutely nothing. My clothes were either my mom got them at a garage sale or she made them. There was no buying new clothes for me. Everything was hand-me-downs. It was passed down. It was bought at a garage sale. That was it. And so I would have these desires. There were things I wanted, but I was always told that I don't need that. I've got enough. It was kind of like, don't think too big was sort of the message I was getting. You don't want to think too big because then you might get disappointed. So you must give yourself permission. No one else is going to tell you it's okay. You've got to tell yourself that it's okay to want what you want. If you don't do it, you won't move forward. You won't move forward because there will be a part of you that is going to hold yourself back from doing what you know you need to do if you don't really think it's okay for you to have that thing. I mean, it took me actually a long time to realize that, oh, it's okay to make money not in the corporate world. Like, it's actually okay to stay home. And this is before people were working from home. I'm like, is this okay for me to stay home and drink coffee on my couch and make money in a way that is really fun? I sort of felt wrong for doing that. I felt like, oh, I felt a little guilty. I had a little bit of shame around that, even though I knew I was following my heart. Yeah, we have to give ourselves that permission. It's an interesting way we sabotage because, me feeling bad about sitting on the couch drinking coffee and setting up coaching calls and writing and doing all the things that I love, that me feeling bad about that is definitely going to stifle the things that I do that would bring in more money. Almost like I want to sort of prove that, yeah, everyone else is right. I shouldn't be doing this. So you want to find that permission within and then move towards what you want. Now, number 5 is that I learned and I understood. And this took me a while to really get my head around this and really believe it and really accept it. But I learned and I understood finally that from the moment that you decide to have something in your life, it has been created on some level, and it's actually here right now. And then you have to act from that truth. So, for any amount of money that I want to bring in, I have to know when I decide, okay, what's the amount? Why do I want it? What's it for? What's my higher purpose? What's the why behind the why? When I get really clear on why I want a particular thing, in that moment of saying, here is what I want, I'm deciding to have it now, it is done. In that moment, it has just been created for you. Energetically, it is now here. And all that is required at that point is to do the things that bring it into the physical manifestation. But it's already here. It's kind of like if you're walking around your house, let's say you get up and it's morning and you really need a cup of coffee. So you think, oh, let me go grab my coffee cup. You don't wonder if the coffee cup's there. You don't hope that the coffee cup's there. You don't sort of think, well, I really want a cup of coffee, but I'm not sure if my coffee cup's going to be there waiting for me. You don't have doubt. You don't have any fear. You just are like, oh, I'm going to go get my coffee cup. Because in your mind, it's there. It's in the kitchen. It's in the cupboard. You can go to the cupboard and take it out. It's the same way with anything you want. The minute you can think of it and say, oh yeah, I'm going to go do that, you've just created it. And then you move towards it. You take those steps to the kitchen, you open the cupboard door, and you get your coffee cup. It's the same with money. It's absolutely the same with money. So I had to really get my head around that, because before I got my head around that, I didn't trust it. And when you don't trust it, you won't do the things, again, that you need to do to get it. If I didn't trust that the coffee cup was sitting in the cupboard, I might start, looking around other places. I might start thinking, well, maybe I'll go out and get a cup of coffee because I don't know if that cup's going to be there for me. And I want to make sure I get some coffee. We start doing things that aren't actually directly solving the problem that we want and creating the desire that we want. So you want to really move from that place of knowing the moment you think it and feel it and say yes to it. It is here. It is yours now. So that's number 5. Now, the 6th thing I did was, and this is huge, and I shared this in another video, I committed to the outcome I wanted, but I surrendered to the way. And this is so, so important. And people struggle with this one so much, and so did I. I mean, this took me, I would have to say years. It took me years of knowing this, but not really understanding it. And it's kind of like everything I'm sharing here with you today. When we hear something intellectually, we can be like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, or oh yeah, I know that. But you don't really understand it until you actually put it into practice in your life. So I knew about you stay committed to the outcome, surrender the path, surrender the how. I knew that in my mind intellectually, but I wasn't, my actions were not in alignment with that truth. And so it took many years for me to be able to align my actions with that truth instead of the flip way, which is what we mostly do, which is where we decide we want something and then we start taking steps towards it. And when it doesn't work out exactly the way we think it's supposed to create our outcome, then we start judging what's happening. We start feeling like, oh, I'm not meant to do this, or I knew this wasn't ever going to work, or I'm not good enough to do this. And all our old baggage comes up and our core wounds. And so it just will stop you in your tracks. And so many women quit their businesses because of that exact thing. They look at the how, and they try things they think will work. And when they don't work, they think it means they're not meant to have their outcome. So either they quit altogether, or they'll take that outcome that they want and they will make it smaller. They're like, well, maybe I don't need it to be that good. Maybe maybe I'll make a little bit less money. Maybe I don't need to go to the beach this winter. Maybe we'll just stay in this cold climate that I don't want to stay at all winter. I mean, that is the kind of thing I would do in the past. I would make my dreams smaller, and I would judge the way, and I would judge myself along the way. That's a recipe to have a broke business. It is. And I've been in all, like, that was me. So everything I'm sharing you, I've experienced doing it the wrong way until I figured out the right way. So here is how we want to flip that. And this is exactly what I did, is I started realizing, and this is connected to number 5 too. I realized that if I see something in my mind's eye that I really want, and I have this goal and I feel it and I know why I want it, exactly the thing we started out at the beginning of this call today, knowing why you want what you want. When I would do that, then no matter what showed up, I would just not change my outcome. But if the way didn't look right, let's say I was doing a program and I didn't get the number of signups I wanted or something like that, instead of judging that like I would in the past and feeling like a failure, I started just thinking, well, okay, that means I have to try something else. And I look at, well, what did I learn from that experience? And I take the learning and I apply it to the next thing I'm doing. No judgment, no berating myself, no telling myself I'm a failure, none of that crap I allowed into my mind. Because once you allow those kinds of thought patterns into your mind, they attract more and more thought patterns just like that, and you will stop. So I stayed committed to my outcome, and I was very surrendered to how the path was going to look that would get me there. Very surrendered. And I will be honest with you, sometimes that the thing that I was doing to get my outcome didn't work the way I wanted. And then all of a sudden, my husband gets an unexpected bonus for the exact amount we needed. I mean, you can't plan that stuff. That is what committing to your outcome looks like, and surrendering to the way. We need to let God figure out the way, but we need to be in action. We need to do something. It's not about sitting on your couch and just meditating and imagining your outcome. You do have to take the steps, but you being in that action creates the energy that allows things to unfold in their own sacred way and in their own sacred time. So that's number 6, commit to the outcome, surrender to the way. Number 7 is, and this is big too, and this is also very difficult to do, very difficult for people to do. And it's kind of connected to all the things we're talking about, but it is this: let your vision rather than your fear guide your decisions. So often our decisions come from a place of fear. Oh, well, there's not enough money. Or what if I was just talking to a friend actually who has a business, a successful business, but she's been doing some different things this year. And she had just left me a message. She's been messaging me over the last couple of days. And she's starting to feel money fear because she hasn't been working because she's writing her book. And she's like, I think she's very close to getting her book proposal done. And she's like, yeah, I think that I might need to put this to the aside for a little bit and bring some money in. And I looked at that with her, and it was like, well, look, you're a month away from having your proposal done. You planned that you weren't going to work this year. You saved up the money so that you could do this. And things always, tend to cost a little bit more than we think, and that's okay. But, you have the ability to make money, and you're okay right now. And I really did feel that she was self-sabotaging because she's so close to getting it done. And that was what she needed. She's like, you're right. Like I planned it this way. This is what I planned. But if we make decisions based on our fear, we will sabotage ourselves. We have got to stay connected to our vision. Yes, things change, and that's a question I asked her. I said, has something changed in your vision and your goals around your book and your business? She's like, no. I said, then don't surrender the outcome like we were just talking about. stay to the vision, and don't make decisions based on the fear. Decisions based on fear will never take you in the path of your purpose. Never. They will never take you towards your desires. You're going to feel that fear, and you got to do it anyways if you want to experience your dream. All right. So number 8 that I did to get that money flow working in my business and allow me to go to the beach this year is I created a balance between working on my inner stuff, my inner game, and working on my outer game, the strategies and the things I have to do. Both of these pieces are absolutely essential to making money in a business. You have to have strategies. You have to know what, how to promote and how to market, and either you've got to do your copywriting or someone else does. You've got to know how to position yourself. You've got to get your messaging really clear. That is a definite. If you don't have those pieces, it's going to be very hard to get yourself out there. But it is not enough. And I way erred on the side of having all that stuff, but none of the inner stuff. And sometimes people will err on the side of doing all the inside work, but none of the outside work. They don't take the action. And other times it's like me. They take all the classes, they do all the coaching programs, they learn all the strategies, and then they put them all into place because they're an action taker and they're driven, and then they get lukewarm results and they wonder what's going on. In that case, for me, I was not working on the stuff on the inside. I was way too focused on listening to the voices of fear, on listening to the conditioned voices that told me how I couldn't and how I really shouldn't make money this way and how it's lazy to be able to work from home and drink coffee on your couch when I'm seeing everybody walk to the office. All the messaging that was telling me I was wrong was sabotaging my results. So we've got to have a healthy balance between cleaning up the mindset, getting healthier in those voices that we're following, not paying attention to the voices that are not aligned with our vision, that are not aligned with our purpose. I mean, a lot of the voices I grew up with, obviously, it was my family. They don't know what my purpose is. Only I know what my purpose is. So for them to say that I shouldn't be doing this, or you can't make money doing that, Jill, they don't know. They did not get the message inside their heart to create their own business and to live in this way and to do life the way that I do life. That wasn't their truth. So why would I listen to messages and voices of people who don't have the same truth that I do? But that's what we do, isn't it? So I had to work on that balance. And for me, it was more working on the internal stuff than the external stuff because I had most of that down. So you want to see, where is your balance off? Are you dealing too much with those voices in your head that are sort of keeping you from making the decisions you really need to make in your business? Or are you not taking actions? Are you not implementing the stuff that you know you need to do, which also could be an indication that you've got stuff up here that is not supporting you? Because if we don't take actions, there's always a reason. And the reason is a thought in your mind. So in a big way, it comes back to what's going on inside. You've got to work on that. So that's what I did. So that was number 8. Number 9 thing that I did that changed everything for me financially in my business, and this was huge, and I was very scared to do this piece, was I started to listen to, and I started to trust, and I started to act on my intuition. Now, why was this scary for me? Well, when I was a child, I apparently was very intuitive. And I say this because I was having these psychic dreams where I would wake up and I would know either exactly what was about to happen, in my life, or I would have a dream about something happening while it was happening. And so I woke up knowing about it before anyone else did. And this was happening, I think I was like 7 or 8, and this kept happening. And it was really, really scary because I thought, as this 7 or 8-year-old child, I'm like, I don't want to know these things, because one of them, it was when my great grandmother died. And it's like, I don't want to know when people die. And it was just freaking me out. And nobody really talked to me about this. So I literally prayed away my intuition. Every night when I went to bed and I was, saying my prayers, and I would pray that I don't have any intuitive dreams. And I kept this up until I was well through my 20s. No joke. I did not want to activate my intuition. I didn't want to know anything. I completely blocked it out. But the thing is, in business, you need your intuition. You need your voice of intuition to guide you. If you block that out, you're missing a huge wealth of information, inspired ideas, possibilities, different ways that it can, different connections and things that you cannot access if you're not connected to that intuition. And before you think, well, I'm not intuitive, yes, you are, because we all are. We all have that faculty. It can be developed in everyone. And I have proof of that because I've taught people how to use their intuition to bring in more money and to create their dreams. So everybody can. You absolutely can if you know what to do. So it's really important that you start to tune in, that you start to listen to that voice, and not only listen to it, because I work with a lot of people who they're very, I work with very spiritual, conscious women. And so they do spend time with themselves. They journal and they get downloads and things. But where they get stuck is they don't trust it. They don't take action on it. They hear it, but they're not 100% sure that that's actually their intuition, or is it their ego, or is it fear, or is it, how do I tell what's my intuition and what's, just my ego or the fear talking? So it's a process of learning and building that trust with that intuitive voice, but it's 100% possible for anybody and everybody to do if you decide that you want to, right? You have to, that's another decision we make, is I want to be open to my intuition and I want to trust it. So that's what I did. I worked on my intuition. I started practicing listening to my intuition. I tested my intuition, and that was allowing me to have greater and greater trust to act on it. And I've taken some really pretty bold actions. I mean, I hopped on a plane to Tucson. Don't ask me. I mean, it's just, I saw the words in a vision. And it was around the time when I was working on my book. And I had only been to Tucson once, and I literally didn't even get on the ground. I landed, was whooshed off in a car to a hotel. I was in the hotel for 3 days, and then I left, and I didn't even see what it was like at all. I was really just sitting inside a hotel for 3 days, or an airport. And so why that would come as a vision in a place I needed to go, I did not know. I did not understand it. But I plunked down the money, trusting that there's a reason why I'm seeing Tucson connected with my book. And I went by myself, and I've never done anything like that before. I even upgraded myself to first class because I thought, why not? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go full board on this. I'm going to just see what happens. And sure enough, I get there. It's absolutely amazing. Like, wow, this is too bad I didn't see it before, because it's really cool. And the interesting thing that happened is I went there to finish my book, and all I wanted to do was walk around there's these gorgeous desert grounds, just beautiful, all natural. All I wanted to do was be out there hiking and making videos. And the videos I wanted to make had nothing to do with my book. And so I believe that I was guided to go there to finally decide this is not the book I want to write. And actually, that is the point at which I completely shifted what I was doing in my business. I realized where my heart had gone and what I needed to start talking about. And it's the stuff that I'm talking about now. So that's when I made the shift. And it's because I listened and trusted my intuition. All of these things are not easy, but they're simple. They're straightforward. If we would only do them, everything in your world could change. So number 10 is I would move forward, and I would step into things, and I would take action now, even though I didn't see the whole path. Like, I didn't know where it was going to lead. With the Tucson thing, I didn't exactly know where that was going to lead, but I was trusting it. I was trusting my path, and I was stepping forward. When you are so connected to your desires, to your why, to what you want from your business and why you want that money, when you are so connected to that and you're really on purpose in your life, then the path is going to be, you're going to be led down the path, but you're not going to see exactly how you're going to get there. And there will be twists and turns on that path. And it requires a great deal of trust, a great deal of trust, not only trust in yourself and in your purpose, but it requires a trust in God, source, universe. It requires trust in the higher power. We are not ever doing this alone. And my trust in God, and I use the word God, but insert whatever word feels good to you. But I use the word God because my trust in God has just multiplied dramatically since I have started to get on this path of really listening to my higher self, really tuning into my why, my purpose, and moving forward. And the moving forward part is the biggest part. That is the scariest part because it's risky. It's risky because what if I make a mistake? We're so afraid of making mistakes. But people who are afraid of making mistakes don't get to live their big dreams because you will make mistakes. I have made gazillions of mistakes. I really have. So many mistakes. And all of those mistakes are things I teach about now. That's the value of making mistakes. You become a wealth of information that you can share with the people that are here to learn from you. So those are the 10 things I did that completely turned things around for me. It unleashed more money in my life. It helped me to be able to make some of the lifestyle decisions that I've been wanting to make. Like I said, I'm, going this winter, we're going to spend some time away from the cold and away from the snow at the beach, something I've wanted to do for several years now. It has allowed me to make these decisions and these choices at a higher level. I feel like I'm living at a higher level than ever before, but it's because I did these 10 things. And the key, though, for you to consider next is how. How did I do these 10 things, right? Because I can list those out for you in a nice video like we're doing here, but how do you do that? Where do you get that not the drive, because I'm sure you have the drive, right? But it's courage and trust to do these things. Where does that come from? And I'll tell you where it really comes from. It's managing what's going on in here. Everything that you do, all the actions that you take in your life, they come from a thought. They are first a thought before they are action. And most people are not very good at managing their thoughts. And we have a lot of really dysfunctional thoughts. We are largely living based on what other people think. And we don't even realize it. We think we're being us, we're doing us. No, you're not. You're living based on conditioning that was pretty much programmed into you before the age of 7. And so if that conditioning is not aligned with your purpose, well, then no wonder things aren't working the way you want them to. You may have gotten to a certain level, but then all of a sudden they stop. There's probably a reason, and it's probably due to your conditioning and the thoughts that you're allowing to dictate your decisions. So until you actually get a handle on that and see what types of decisions, what types of situations, where are you choosing things that are not lined up with what you want, until you can do that clearly, it's going to be pretty hard to do some of the things I'm talking about here. And like I said, a lot of them I struggled with for years, and it wasn't easy. And I wish someone would have walked me through this. It would have helped at least give me a map, because I didn't even have the map in the desert, let alone where I was starting from. So we all have these voices in our heads. And one of the things that I want to invite you to do is to gain some clarity on where you are stopping yourself in the process of living the dreams that you have for yourself. And I can do that through a one-on-one call that I'm really excited to offer, which is a Make More Money Clarity Call. And so the purpose of that call, it's totally free right now. I will be charging for this at some point because it's extremely high value. It creates a lot of ahas for people. It's kind of, I should be calling it a breakthrough call, really. But you're going to have great clarity on where you are actually getting in your way and what you should be focusing on now, the 2 or 3 big things that you want to focus on now so that you can start moving forward and doing some of these 10 things, putting these things into play, starting to create that shift in your life and in your business. So I welcome you and invite you to come to one of those calls with me. It's really simple. You just go to ishinekids.com/moneyclarity.html. You have to have the .html on there at the end. And that'll take you to a page that explains everything. You can submit your request. And once you do that, I'll send you an email to schedule your call. And we'll get on for 30 to 45 minutes. And we'll talk about what your dreams are. We'll talk about where you're getting stuck. And through our conversation, I'll be able to see where are those areas that are going to create the biggest impact and the biggest shift in where you're at right now. Okay. So if that sounds like something you'd like to do, please go in and do that. I'm making this available only over the next couple of weeks. So don't wait too long. Go in there, grab a spot, and I look forward to chatting with you. I hope that this helped you think about some things in a different way in terms of how you're operating in your business and maybe why some of the things that you're doing aren't working and what you can do to shift. And I look forward to seeing you next time in our next call. So bye for now. And until next time, stay well.